Yeah, I like that. And I'm sad to hear there's no secret pill. I'm still waiting on the pill that makes you lose weight without working out. You know, I hear those, although I've heard those infomercials for like 20 years and they don't work. So, uh, I, yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned the tracking and the accountability, and it wasn't just the journal. I mean, I do the journal every day and it's great. And I feel like that helps a lot, but the fact that you mentioned like metrics and holding people accountable, I think that is probably where a lot of people struggle as they start building a team is like, and I don't have a ton of experience with this, but I had the six, I guess 7 is probably not counting virtual assistants, the most people I've had working under me. And it's really easy to fall into the trap, especially when you're small. I've felt, and maybe this is just because I'm a high I personality on the disc profile, but of like wanting to be friends and wanting to like understand when things don't quite go your way and be easygoing. And so I struggle sometimes with like holding people accountable. And so one of the things I had to wrestle with was like, okay, we got to put the metrics in writing and you're going to be involved in this process so that when it doesn't happen, I can be like, no, this was in writing and this was, in part your idea. So we're sticking to it. It's cool to hear that that's.
And I would say the one thing I would say about that is it dehumanizes the result critique, right? It's like if I told you, hey, David, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for you. And you're like, great, man, can you please send that to me in an email? Like, sure, no problem. Hey, David, in 6 months, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And you can respond, great. And in 6 months, we meet and say, hey, Matt, did you do X, Y, and Z? And show me the email. I have no place to hide. I have no place to run to. I have no excuses. I did it or I didn't do it. It wasn't you telling me what I had to do. It was me committing to you. This is what I'm going to do. And this is by when I am going to do that thing. And so I think, the one place that doesn't work, by the way, is your marriage. But even with your kids, right? Like, my daughter all the time, I'm like, hey, let's, set a deal for when you can watch your iPad or if you can have macaroni for dinner, whatever the deal is. And if you achieve set expectations, deal. And I always make her tell me what's going to happen. And I always make her say deal because I want her buy-in and I want her to know that there is nothing higher than her following through on her word. And that's what I try to live by. And I'm not perfect, man. I make mistakes. I am what I am. But I try to always hold myself to the highest level possible. And I always try to hold myself accountable to my word because at the end of the day, that's really all we have is our word.
Yeah, I like that. And so you're saying that screenshotting previous text conversations with your wife when you're mad and saying, no, you said this doesn't work out for you very well.
It hasn't for me. I'm trying. The one thing I've found, it hasn't for me yet, but I'll keep trying if you think there's a possibility. Now, the one thing I've found, and I mean, I am so fortunate. My wife is just an absolute saint. But like, wife and business and goals are very, very, very different. And when I start trying to treat my relationship like a goal or like a business, it just doesn't serve me. Like it's just not gone very well. Again, that comes back to what we talked about earlier about forcing things, right? Like I think the tracking the goals and stuff, when you bring that stuff into your relationship, and it's almost trying to force a result rather than
high points,
just allowing
low points.
To happen.
And, we've done a little bit of
so no, it hasn't worked
counseling
yet.
and it's amazing to me how, we can have the exact same conversation or maybe not. Obviously it's not the exact same conversation, but a very similar conversation together and a very similar conversation together with the counselor. And one of those conversations, we both leave feeling way better about ourselves. And the other conversation, we leave, not feeling better about ourselves. So, it's interesting, that dynamic.
Yeah. And I don't know, have you studied the Enneagram at all? ENNA, Enneagram?
I have not, no.
The Enneagram is a great one. You should definitely take it and have your spouse take it. I'm an 8, which is like competitive, aggressive, my way or the highway kind of a person at times. And my wife is a 1, which is a perfectionist. And the more I studied our differences in personality, the more I understood that the differences in our conversation ultimately resides from the way we see the world. And it's not right or wrong. It's just different. And so my wife's a perfectionist. So I always thought she was criticizing me to move my shoes and criticizing me to pick up my socks. And my response was always like, well, your shoes are there too. And your counter stuff, like, you know, I always had this rebuttal of like, but you're doing it. That's okay. And what I realized is like her correcting me was just a reflection of her correcting herself, but trying to not beat herself up. Now I'm still not perfect. I still have some smart aleck comments and I'm pretty witty. So I've got some good ones, at least in my opinion. But having an awareness around, you know, how we tick and how we operate has been very insightful for me. And it's given me a sense of compassion and empathy towards her and the way she's wired, rather than like a frustration and an aggravation of like, why do you care where my socks are? Like, this is my drawer, you know, whatever the example is.
I like it.